Tying is an ongoing process where one learns the whole life, or otherwise it wouldn't be interesting or productive. That said, let me show you what I have learned recently, and I think that that will up your Comparadun flies a lot. I was tying Comparadun flies in a classic way, like most other tires, like where I would just lift those wings up and put them in front of them to prop them up and keep them in place. But inevitably, after some time, those wings would tilt back towards the eye. And well, if you want that, if you don't mind that, then it's fine. You don't need to watch the video. But if you want to keep those wings up, well, stick with me and I'll show you how to keep them up. Now first improvement came by Mr. Wayne Lou Allen, who suggested and advised me to, as I was lifting those wings, so I would lift them in clumps. So instead of just lifting the whole wing up, you would pinch the part of the wing clump, move it away, go with your thread through it, and then take another clump, go with your thread through it, maybe one more clump, and that's it. And then of course the thread or dubbing dam in front of it, and that will keep the wings in kind of upright position for forever. And that was great. But recently things have changed, and I think to better. Now first, let me talk about materials. For the hook, I'll be using this Hanak 100 barbless in size 12. Easy to see, and yeah. Basically, I would use those mostly in 16 and 14s, but for the sake of the video, I would make it on a larger hook. For the tail, that's a beautiful Coq de Leon feather. This time, this is the true one, Spanish one, and that one I would suggest for dry flies, definitely, because it's more stiff. It has more stiff barbs than the whitening one has. And even though the speckling is very similar, the shine is similar. The Spanish one is definitely more stiff, and it will support your fly better. Well, while this whitening one, as I said before, you can use for nymphs and other stuff. Now for the ribbing, I'll be using this Mylar in purple. It doesn't look so purple when you put it on the fly. I just love this color. You can use whatever you like, obviously. It's very prone to changes, so you don't have to stick to what I do. Just adopt the pattern to your own needs. For the dubbing, I recently used my coffee grinder and I made a very big box of dubbing. The reason is I don't want to compress my dubbing too much in those small compartments like this. So the same amount of dubbing spread all around here. It doesn't get matted down, so when I pull it out, it's already fluffed up, and yeah, it kind of works for me. I don't need to use coffee grinder all the time, because dubbing dubs much better when it's fluffed up and not matted down. Like if you were using it in a bag, plastic bag, it would definitely destroy it. Like if you put it in a bag like this, it will compress it. For the hair, I'll be using all-purpose deer hair. It's a natural white-tail deer, and yeah, this one is kind of straight, and I would recommend straight hair for the Comparadun's, because I don't think curved hair would do any good to it. Such as it would do it like curved hair. It can look nice kind of on elk hair caddies, on stimulators, but on Comparadun's, I don't think it will look nice. And the thread, it's just on my desk. It's the Extreme Standard 6/0, but as I said before, the Extreme in 6/0 is kind of thinner than most of other threads that are like 8 or even 10/0, and it's strong. So it's a really good thread. So let's go into tying. So as I was saying, I will start with the size 12 hook in my vise, but again, you can go smaller or larger depending on what you have on your waters. I will use my thread to tell me where I want to stop with my wings. So basically I want my wings to have around here. It's around 1/3 mark around. So I want those wings to prop up until here. So I'll just start everything now. So with flat thread, I'll make a little bit of base over here. Now I'll go back. I wanted to cover a little bit of the hook shank here, primarily because if I have it just a little bit, like a couple of wraps, it can maybe spin around the hook shank, and like this, it's like very well secured. And now I'll go back and wait and prepare my hair. So I'll tie hair first. Again, here you can use as much or as little as you want. There is no right or wrong amount, but there has to be enough hair so it can spread in a fan-like manner. I'll clean up the hair with my Velcro. When you clean up the hair, remove the short hairs and remove this underfur. Then the hair that you are left with is actually, let's say, less bonded together. It's more easier to stack, and it's definitely more easier to manipulate. And then it's also easier to prop up. And there is one more thing that I just remembered. Here that you remove all of this stuff from, when you go with your dubbing and thread through, it will go easier in between here. So I'll just stack the hair, see if it's well stacked. Looks fine. I'll press it against the edge to align. If there is any curvature there, it will go to the same way. So that's it. Now I want the hair to face the tips this way, and that way is how I'm going to remove it from the stacker. Now the overall hook length is going to be my wing length here. So let me just transfer a little bit. And when you pull your fingers, like when you pull your hair through your fingers this way, you will hear this. I'll just put the hair next to the mic. So those are the scales, and those will become important later on. I will explain you why. So I'll just measure the overall length here, and I'll counter twist the bobbin holder to have a corded thread that will bite deeper into the hair. 2 loose wraps. Then I'll place this index finger behind the hair, okay, like here, so it doesn't go towards you, but I will also pull the thread up so it doesn't spin around. I'll pull very hard, almost to the breaking point of the thread. And then I'll go again and again, and I'm going towards the tail of the fly. Okay. Now I will just cut this, and I'll kind of taper it down. Okay, I didn't catch all the hairs obviously, but kind of taper it down because it will make nicer underbody. I'll try to compress it as much as I can. So I'll just stroke and tame those hairs back. And by now the thread is flat, which is going to be beneficial because it will cover more surface. So I'm trying to catch as many of those hairs as I can, but unfortunately I haven't figured out a way that I will just go down with my thread and cover all of those little hairs and hide them under the thread, but this is going to be just fine. So I'll just cut all of those buttons. I mean, you will hide them with let me just change to sharper scissors. You will hide them with dubbing for sure, but I want to have the fly as neat as possible before I start doing the main thing here. So this should be it. Obviously you don't need to go into those details if you don't want to, but yeah. So I have all this here like so. Don't worry if it goes a little bit around the hook. We will fix it later. So I just want to kind of tame it. And at this point, I will use Coq de Lion. And it's like super good tailing material. You can use those bristles from the brushes, or you can use those microfibets, but I will use Coq de Lion here, and I'll use a nice bunch here. So I put them together. Again, overall hook length for the tail. In this case, I'll just remember the speckle where I need to. I'll explain to you after I cut this. So I'll just remember the speckle when I'm measuring everything, and I'll transfer the speckle to the rear end. Now counterspin the bobbin holder so the thread jumps into your fingers like so, and catch the tail. Okay. Now you can do a couple of things here. You can go under the tails and splay them, like literally splay them like this to get more surface tension. I personally don't do that, but yeah, you can do that if you want. At this point, I will also catch mylar, and for that I can actually go 1 or 2 reps back and just catch it on the far side. And then, okay, that's it. What I would suggest you, if you're going to go under with the thread, go a little bit with the thread into the bend, so you can bend those tails like this. So when you go under, you will prop the tails back into the horizontal position. Now it's time to level to do the dubbing part. As I was saying, I have it fluffed up, and it's super easy to dub. And this is scroll dubbing. What I'm trying to do is always near the tail, I am trying to get very thin dubbing noodle, and as I advance towards the eye, I'm kind of tapering it up, getting it a little bit more full, but not too much. Also, if you use less dubbing as you're dubbing around the thread, the dubbing will lock around the thread much more better, and it will hold better, so it will be much more difficult to remove from the thread. Okay. Now you'll see that I will cover everything up here. Looks okay. Okay, just one more dubbing wrap before I get my mylar around. Okay, like this. This looks fine. Now, I hope you notice that mylar is on the far side of the hook, and that is because now when I start ribbing, I'm missing the tails and I'm going directly over the body without affecting the tails. Now, just behind the wings, I'll catch the mylar, and 2 reps are more than enough, because there are going to be more reps to come later as I dub and use the thread. Let me just check if everything is right. On the top, nice. Okay, now to prop the wings. As I was saying, Mr. Wayne Low Allen taught me to take 1 clump, go with my thread here, and then take another clump, go with my thread here, and 1 or 2 more clumps, and then you will have those wings exactly as you want them. But recently I was texting with some other people, specifically again Mr. Wayne and Mr. Runner, and also Mr. David McPhail did it in his video, so that's but I'm not corresponding with him. So we just came to like see if I would like to experiment, and I did with dubbing through the hairs. The concern was because the hair has those scales that were making this sound later before, and that's those scales that can actually even fray the thread. sometimes when you work with the deer hair, it can fray your thread, and those scales are responsible for that. So those scales can actually remove dubbing or loosen your dubbing if you're going with the dubbed thread through the hair. But if you do this, like super small amount of dubbing, and you dub it very tightly, and for this purpose it's better to use underfur, more underfur than more guard hairs. So yeah, my head needs attention, obviously. It's better to use underfur than guard hairs, because underfur can be locked around the thread way more better than those guard hairs can. And now at this point I have this nice thin noodle, which is very compact, and to make it more compact I'm actually squeezing my fingers super tight. Now I'll go around. Yes, one more thing. There is one more concern when you're going with a bare thread through these ends, and then when you're making the dam over here, there they can appear a gap over here on the thorax area. But if you go with dubbed thread, you're actually preventing that from happening. So what I found out to be easiest way for me is exactly as you would comb your hair. You make those hairs here separated nicely and clearly, and just, okay, I'll take a little bit more here, but those hairs should be separated nicely without like hairs going back and forth. So I'll spin my my bobbin holder a little bit counterclockwise, and then loose wrap here, and then I'll go just up as much as I can, and then another one, loose wrap, up. See, I'm stroking those hairs up. So from underneath, I'm stroking them up. See, I don't want this, because I will mat some hairs down. I will just catch them without reason there. So I'll go, well, I have a couple of them running away. Okay. Never mind. No, it's okay, I guess. No, it's not. Okay. Going up, and then I'll just do it like this. Prop it and create a thread dam over here. And as you can see, the wings are already up. I will just ensure that it's more up by adding more dubbing over here. Let me see if everything is right. Okay. With my nail, spreading it a little bit like so. And that's it. Now, I like to stroke back all those hairs, and at the same time I'm flattening the thread to make better wave finish. So I don't want to cover the eye with any stray hairs. And now I'm looking for my wave finisher. So again, stroke them back. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull it back, tighten it up. You will actually feel the knot tightening up. I'm using lighter colored thread because I can use markers to color it up if I want. I usually don't do that, I don't bother. And very neat way to cut everything. You can use the blade. So just put the blade down, pull the thread, and that's it. Now, obviously this is not a Comparadun. This looks more like elk, like classic elk. But if you just do this and manipulate it a little bit, you'll get a beautiful Comparadun wing. Now there is one more thing that happened with all those dubbed threads going through those hairs, and that's those wings, they became a little bit wider, meaning that they got more surface area to cover, and arguably it will make the fly more buoyant. So guys, let me just show you the effect from the front. Okay, let me just take it nicely. Okay, so guys, I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something new, and until next time, keep safe and see you next time.